Hello. 150 000 000 000. $150 billion is what the International Office of Labor estimates that human trafficking brings in 1 year. They say that 50 billion of this comes from labor exploitation, and the other 100 billion from sexual exploitation. ESPN shares that Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, makes about $35 million per year. This means that Russell Wilson would have to work for 4,286 years in order to make the amount of money that human trafficking makes in one. In Haiti alone, there are over 300,000 child slaves. Women find themselves with upwards of 15 children and an inability to feed, clothe, and educate them. Families have to sell their children into trafficking, not because they do not love their children, but instead the opposite. They want to save their lives. The consequences of being sold for sex seem like a relief compared to the hellish conditions these children have to endure on a day-to-day basis. It is easy to think that these numbers and this issue can only happen in underdeveloped countries, and something of this magnitude could never happen in the U.S. However, in 2018, the Polaris Project, an organization dedicated to eradicating human trafficking, documented that in the U.S. alone, there was 23,078 identified survivors, 10,949 human trafficking cases, 5,859 potential traffickers, and 1,905 suspicious businesses. These numbers were up 25% from 2017. Not only is this a prevalent issue in the U.S., it is rapidly growing. Thankfully, a debate does not arise when trying to determine whether this is a prevalent issue and it needs to be addressed quickly. However, controversy comes when trying to come up with a solution. Some people believe that government and law enforcement should have a high responsibility in this issue. They say that government and law enforcement should have stricter laws prosecuting traffickers, and that resources should be used to relieve and rescue victims. I am here to tell you that this will not work. At a surface level, it sounds like a great idea. However, when actually thought about, it is obvious that this will cause more harm than good. Yasmin Ergis of the Journal of International Affairs shares that if law enforcement and government become stricter in the laws persecuting traffickers and in laws surrounding human trafficking, it will force sex workers to go further underground. Consequently, it will become more difficult for victims to be able to seek help. Instead, human trafficking should be addressed at the root issues, such as migration, poverty, and deprivation. The laws surrounding migration issues cause it to be extremely difficult for immigrants to come into their desired country. Consequently, there is a magnitude of illegal immigrants unable to find good work. They end up getting caught up in labor exploitation, and because of fear of arrest and deportation, avoid involving the authorities. This causes a vicious cycle to never end. Instead, if legal migration were to be made more accessible for these immigrants, this issue surrounding human trafficking would have the opportunity to be eradicated. Even though migration issues have proven difficult to solve, it is only the tip of the iceberg when addressing human trafficking. Many people migrate because of the desire or need to leave their current living conditions due to poverty. It is vital to understand that every day people are suffering from malnutrition, lack of income, and fatal disease. All these things are creating the poverty we see everywhere today. However, wouldn't it be nice if all we had to do was solve world poverty and then human trafficking would be gone? This question sounds ridiculous. However, poverty seems simple compared to what's actually underneath poverty. At the root of poverty comes deprivation. Deprivation is defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary as the state of being kept from possessing, enjoying, or using something. Poverty could be caused by deprivation of basic necessities such as food and water, deprivation of education, or deprivation of medical attention, and the deprivation of resources. All these things work together to cause the deprivation, causing so much hurt in our world. This idea of conquering all the issues seemed daunting. It has often seemed as so overwhelming and so serious that people can't even bear to think about it. It is thought of as hopeless and impossible. It will continue to be this way unless you think of it as baby steps. It is impossible to solve world poverty in one step, but a few small actions done by millions of people can change everything. The first step is something that you can do that can directly impact poverty and migration issues, therefore affecting human trafficking as a whole. Shop sustainably. By shopping sustainably, you are shopping from companies that pay workers fair wages and do not take advantage of them. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy defines exploitation as to take advantage of them. It is to use another person's vulnerability for one's own benefit. Therefore, labor exploitation is just that, taking unfair advantage of somebody, except for in the workplace. This is seen so often in the fashion industry with fast fashion. However, if you were to shop from sustainable companies, you would be able to directly impact what brings in 1/3 of the human trafficking. By purchasing from sustainable companies, you are directly combating human trafficking. Another thing that is vital to address when making an impact on poverty and deprivation is education. Not just education in a classroom, but education, especially in women, on their bodies and rhythms. On a trip to Haiti, Kristen Van Wey, the founder of the Let's Empower Women company, saw the women of Haiti without jobs and unable to support themselves and their families. She also realized that these women were clueless when it came to knowing about their bodies. They did not know they had a menstrual cycle, they did not know they had a rhythm, and they had no idea they could have kids. Like I said before, these women would find themselves with upwards of 15 children and no way to feed, clothe, or educate them. This caused there to be a huge amount of human trafficking in Haiti. Kristen decided to put an end to this by creating the lunar fertility tracking bracelets. These bracelets not only provided a woman an opportunity to produce income for her family, but also an education on their body and the rhythm of their body. These bracelets were made out of paper beads, so they were sustainable both socially and economically. Each bracelet has 30 regular beads, a red bead, a large bead, and a marker. The bracelet is started by the one red bead and marking the first day of a woman's period. That bead is then followed by 6 beads of the same color, representing the remaining 6 days of a woman's period. Next, there are 6 beads of a different color, 1 large bead, and 4 more of the same different colored bead. These beads represent the days that a woman is most fertile, and the large bead being the day she actually ovulates. The bracelet is finished by 14 last different colored beads, representing the last 14 days of the menstrual cycle. Each day, a woman moves the marker one position in order to track what day of the cycle they're on. Men are even wearing these bracelets too, in order to show that they are educated on these topics and that they respect women. Though these bracelets have not been around long enough to have a specific statistical evidence, the corner of the world that has already tasted the hope that these bracelets bring are already claiming that whether you know it or not, these bracelets could end poverty. Do not get me wrong. I believe 100% that there should be organizations dedicated to fighting human trafficking and to rescuing and relieving victims. However, we are lacking in people trying to stop the issue altogether. If this continues, we will end up with a lot of rescued and recovering victims, which is great, but they are still victims. What if we didn't have victims? What if we addressed the issues of migration, poverty, and deprivation? What if we shopped sustainably and educated each other on the rhythms of the body so that little by little, the statistics surrounding human trafficking dropped instead of continuing to rise? If we did these things, the awareness of human trafficking would skyrocket. And I believe we would start to see the statistics around human trafficking drop more and more. However, none of this can happen without you. Human trafficking cannot be addressed at its roots if you continue to live the way you have been. No, I'm not asking you to make some life-altering changes. I'm asking you to make a few small adjustments in your day-to-day life. Buy your clothes from sustainable companies that pay their workers fair wages and do not take advantage of them. These are companies such as Patagonia, Alternative Apparel, and Encircled, and so many more. Purchase one of these bracelets from the women in Haiti and soon to be women all over the world. By doing this, you're supporting these women and their families and helping lower human trafficking in Haiti, but also you get to then educate people who ask you about your bracelet and hopefully one day get to share that bracelet with somebody in need of it. These things are not complicated, but they do take thought and effort. If not done, the trends of human trafficking will continue to rise, creating more and more victims. Who is to stop us from being next if this is not solved? Thank you.